George Washington wasn't a one-man band. He was assisted by other American military leaders, including top strategist Nathanael Greene and artillery expert Henry Knox, both of whom excelled at a variety of military tasks. The English didn't exactly find America an ideal vacation spot to hold a war. Great Britain's military leaders such as General Charles Cornwallis and General John Burgoyne often considered America one of the least desirable places to serve. The dense forests and seasonally extreme heat offered major obstacles to traditional warfare. Some historians refer to the American Revolution as a world war because other countries participated in the American Revolution, including France, Spain, Germany, and Poland. The leaders of each country either had already claimed part of America or wanted some of the land for themselves. The French, especially, were instrumental in helping the American army win the war because they had settled parts of the country in the South over a century before the English settlers arrived in the East. The Marquis de Lafayette was a Frenchman who supported the American cause and was a major leading hero of the Revolution. Also, a huge percentage of American gunpowder came from France. One doesn't think about the Revolutionary War being fought at sea, but approximately 3,000 men enlisted in the colonial navy. America built 13 frigates, however, all were destroyed or captured by the British Navy. The colonial navy was authorized by the Continental Congress on October 13, 1775. The following battles, in chronological order, were instrumental for America's victory: Fort Ticonderoga, Bunker Hill, and Trenton. All are significant and special in their own way. The first of these major battles was at Fort Ticonderoga in New York. It was located in a strategic area in that whoever controlled the fort also controlled vital troop movements. From Ticonderoga, the American army could deter British troops coming down from Canada. Military leader Ethan Allen and about 125 Green Mountain Boys, a branch of the American Army, attacked the fort in May 1775 and were victorious. This was the battle where there wasn't a single shot heard around the world. The fort was taken without firing a shot. British officers and women and children were captured. Cannons were taken from Ticonderoga to Boston. The cannons from Ticonderoga would be dragged over rough terrain and would be used at future battles. Henry Knox was America's top artillery commander and one of the major heroes of the Revolution. Another important battle was the one that the Americans lost, yet they felt triumphant. The Battle of Bunker Hill, actually fought on Breed's Hill, just outside of Boston in June 1775, inspired the Americans to believe fully that they could stand up to the British Army. Although about 1,400 Army of New England soldiers occupied the defenses, and about 2,500 Redcoats unsuccessfully charged the hill numerous times, the Redcoats defeated the American soldiers in the third charge only because the Americans ran out of ammunition. The Americans lost the Battle of Bunker Hill, but considered the battle a moral victory. The Battle of Bunker Hill was the costliest battle for the British in the 8-Year War. British casualties numbered 1,054, while American casualties were 441. At this point, the British Empire realized they faced a full-scale war with the Americans. 2 weeks after this battle, Washington took command of the army. The battle on Bunker Hill was furiously violent. The quote, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes," is often attributed to Israel Putnam, but the sources are not completely in agreement. Regardless of who actually spoke the words, they have gone on to symbolize any soldier who is calm in the face of a seemingly insurmountable enemy. The third significant battle, called the Battle of Trenton, was a surprise attack by General Washington. Washington and his men crossed the Delaware on Christmas night, 1776. They caught trained German soldiers, known as Hessians, napping early the next morning. Washington's brilliant strategy led to a great American victory. The attack on Trenton gave the American Army their first great victory of the war with only 4 casualties. The Hessians had spent too much time celebrating the holidays and were caught off guard. Colonel Rahl, the German leader, was mortally wounded during the surprise attack. Washington cleared the British from central New Jersey. A host of other significant battles would take place between 1777 and 1781, including those at Saratoga, the winter at Valley Forge, and Yorktown. They included both high and low points for the Americans. A major turning point of the war occurred as a result of the Battle of Saratoga in October 1777. It was the biggest American victory at the time. British General Burgoyne surrendered to American General Horatio Gates. Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, saw the Americans in a battle not against the British, but rather against nature. The winter of 1777 to 1778 was a time for Americans to regroup, resupply, and train. The American Army had run out of food and clothing, and Washington had to appeal to Congress for help because supplies were quickly used up at Valley Forge. Also, the bitter cold added to the deaths of many exhausted, wounded, maimed, malnourished, and dispirited soldiers. The American Army reached a low point during this time. The end was in sight with the Battle of Yorktown. The Americans were aided by a French blockade, making British escape impossible. British General Cornwallis faced American forces approximately twice his size and nowhere to go. The map on your screen shows the location of British, American, and French forces at the Battle of Yorktown. The last campaign of the Revolution took place in the South at Yorktown, Virginia, in 1781. About 8,700 British troops surrendered when the Americans and the French naval fleet pinned in the British in a series of brilliant strategic maneuvers. General Benjamin Lincoln accepted the surrender sword from a Cornwallis aide. The British bands played "The World Turned Upside Down." The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially ended the American Revolution. The official end to the war came 2 years after Yorktown at the Treaty of Paris. The British commander Cornwallis was so humiliated by the defeat that he refused to meet with Washington for the formal surrender and sent an aide instead. The treaty set many geographic borders, including that of the United States and Canada. Canada went to the British, but later the French won part of the country. Florida was returned to Spain. Penalties awaited those who had been loyal to the king or who did not support the revolutionaries' cause. For example, some loyalists were tarred and feathered. And that's exactly what it sounds like. They had hot tar poured all over them, and then bags of feathers were dumped on them. The hot tar would stick to their skin, and most who were punished this way died as a result of the tarring and feathering. Ships waited in numerous harbors to transport loyalists back to Great Britain or to Canada. Many descendants of former loyalists reside in Canada today. America was officially here to stay. The American Revolution was an 8-year struggle, but the outcome of the struggle would forever change the world. Its events are the subject of countless plays and films. On the battlefields and in the meeting houses, lives were lost and heroes were made. More importantly, the Revolution led to the birth of a nation unlike any the world had seen before it.